welcome to the North Shore Community Association's podcast of August 10th, 2023. Today, we will present an interview with Jennyfer Bezeau from Éki-Lib Santé Côte-Nord, who will discuss this important organization that works with people living with an eating disorder. Then, we will cover community events and services on the North Shore of Quebec.
I'd like to welcome our guest speaker, Ms. Jennyfer Bezeau from Éki-Lib in Sept-Îles.
Hi, Evelyn, and thank you for having me. My name is Jennyfer Bezeau. I am a registered dietitian. I work as a director at Éki-Lib Santé Côte-Nord. We are based in Sept-Îles, but we do cover, our services cover the North Shore. I grew up in Rivière-Pentecôte, so as you can imagine, I didn't learn to speak English there. There's not so much English people. Very, very French. So for my university degree, I went to Moncton, New Brunswick, because I wanted to learn English, and I heard good things about that province. So I moved there. I stayed for about 7 years. I learned English and then I came back. And now that's why I will be able to talk to you, because a few years ago, I wouldn't be able.
But you know, Jennyfer, we're a little bit curious about the name Éki-Lib.
Yeah, well, first of all, you have to know I'm not the one who created that name, but the meaning I give to it is that, well, Éki-Lib, it's a balance, and it's actually Éki-Lib Santé, the name of the organization, so healthy balance, and it's probably not what you think. Well, most of the people, they come at me, they're like, oh yeah, I should lose a little bit of weight, or my doctor said I should eat healthier, or oh, I have diabetes, I should be careful. Well, that's not it. Our organization offers services for people with eating disorder or disordered eating, okay? So the balance here is more about having a good relationship with food, with our body. So what we do is we work with them to help them to improve that relationship. And sometimes it comes from far, it's very deep. And so it's all about the relationship, finally.
What constitutes an eating disorder?
Well, it's different for every type of eating disorder. Okay, so we have the one most people know is anorexia. This specific eating disorder, most of the time, we will see an individual who doesn't eat so much. That person might introduce some problematic behavior as vomiting or excessive exercise. But that's not the only eating disorder we know. There is bulimia. And the one that people don't really know is binge eating disorder.
Oh, yes.
And that one is very interesting because that's the one we find the most in the population, but we don't hear about it. Binge eating disorder, something very different from what we hear usually. So it's the person who will eat a lot of food in a short period of time. Okay. And when I say a lot of food, I'm not talking about, oh my God, I ate too much. I had maybe 4 hot dogs. No, I'm talking about huge amount of food. For example, a person could go at the drive-through of 3 different restaurants and then come home and eat all alone in maybe an hour. And that person won't have the behavior of someone who has anorexia or bulimia. So there won't be any vomiting or excessive exercise, for example. They will keep everything. So you can imagine that these people usually live in a larger body as well. It's mostly in secret. There's a lot of shame. They're not feeling well when they are doing it. They actually do it to not feel emotion, right? It comes from a place of a lot of pain, I would say. Yeah, and what is hard with this eating disorder is most of the time, these people, they think they're just not good enough to keep control over their food. They're just lazy. So they don't think it could be an eating disorder. They just think they are the problem.
How does an eating disorder develop?
Well, there is several ways. It could be a trauma. Yeah. It could be just maybe a change in your life that might be hard to accept. For example, it could be that you are a teenager and your parent divorced. So maybe it's hard for you to go through, and then you might develop an eating disorder. It could be maybe that you have the feeling that you don't have any control over your life. There are so much reason to develop an eating disorder, but what you have to remember is that when it's there is a reason, and it's to help in a certain way the individual. So it could be to help to feel that the person has like more control. It could be to help to feel better in their life, but they don't realize that over time it will complicate everything, and then there's more negative than positive at the end.
The demographics that are associated with eating disorders, like, do you find it's more teenagers? Is it adults? Is it younger kids? Do you see a trend in the different age groups?
There's no age for eating disorder, but at the moment here in the organization, I have to say I see it in my teenager and young women, and yes, mostly women. It doesn't mean men doesn't have eating disorder, but I think they might not reach for services, and maybe they don't hear about it as much.
In the services and programs that the organization offers, are your services available in the English?
Well, at the moment, I am the only one who speaks English here. But I have to say, we are a very small team. I do have a specialized educator since a few weeks now. So it's the first time I'm going to have an employee who can do intervention other than me. Hopefully, maybe if we can grow our team, I hope to have someone bilingual, because I think it is very important.
How would they access a workshop that you guys are offering?
Well, they just send a message. It could be an email or via our Facebook page. It's really easy to reach us. We also have our website where you can just fill the form online, or they can just call.
And everything's kept in the highest of confidence, I'm sure, and remains anonymous.
Yeah. Especially here, it's a small place. People don't want our name to be speak out to other people, right?
Right. Because of COVID, have you seen an increase in numbers of people reaching out to you?
Well, I cannot compare from before the pandemic, because I wasn't there. I'm at the organization since a little bit less than a year. I'm very new here, but what I can say, I have a lot of moms who call me for their young teenagers, and it is so sad because I think they might be the one who, well, I think suffered the most throughout the pandemic. But I'm not sure. I'm not 100% sure. But that's the call I received the most, I think.
Well, you've certainly shed a lot of light on what Éki-Lib is. And I just want to thank you very much.
Thank you very much for having me too. And maybe see you another time.
Here are some tips for sunscreen safety. With summertime comes the use of sunscreen to help protect our skin from the UV rays of the sun. But why is sunscreen safety a concern? Ultraviolet or UV radiation from the sun can cause sunburn, skin damage, eye damage, and skin cancer. UV damage accumulated during childhood and adolescence is strongly associated with an increased risk of skin cancer later in life. If you can remember the 5 S's for sun safety: slip, slop, slap, shade, and slide, this will go a long way to preventing sunburn, heat rash, and possibly avoiding skin cancer. First, slip on clothing to cover skin. Put on clothing that covers as much skin as possible, and choose lightweight, loose-fitting clothing that won't make your child too hot. Next, slop on sunscreen. Use SPF 30 or higher, broad-spectrum, water-resistant sunscreen on your child's face, arms, hands, and any other skin that's not covered. Apply sunscreen 20 minutes before going outside and reapply every 2 hours. Sunscreen does not completely block out all UV radiation and should never be the only method of sun protection. The widespread use of sunscreen on babies under 6 months old is not recommended. Next, slap on a hat. Choose a hat that shades your child's face, back of the neck, eyes, and ears, and is a suitable size for your child's head. Broad-brimmed, Legionnaire, or bucket hats are best. Baseball caps and visors are not recommended. Next, seek shade. Try to use shade whenever possible. If you can, choose a shady place for your child to play, such as under a tree, shade sail, or umbrella. UV radiation can burn even when you're in the shade, so it's important you and your child still wear sunscreen, a hat, and appropriate clothing. Last, slide on sunglasses. Sunglasses are labeled with protection category ratings, which indicate how well they protect the eyes from UV radiation. Choose wraparound sunglasses that are labeled category 2, 3, or 4. A soft elastic strap will help to keep sunglasses in place for babies and toddlers. For more on sun safety and types of sunscreen to use, please visit the websites listed in the description. As we know, forest fires are active in several regional county municipalities, or MRCs, on the North Shore. Large quantities of smoke may occur sporadically in various localities. To find out how to protect your health and that of your loved ones, and what a person can do to minimize the effects of smoke and air quality, check the CISSS Côte-Nord website. Do you need some help with your child's transition to school? The NSCA has some school readiness kits prepared that are available free of charge. These kits have a wealth of information for both parent and child. Contact Annie by email for further information. Why might you choose to send your children to English schools? If your child has the right to take advantage of this opportunity, here are the reasons the Eastern Shore School Board thinks that you should contact them to register your child today. To secure your child or grandchild's access to English education, to take advantage of small classroom sizes and an individualized approach, for exposure to English culture, to benefit from excellent extracurricular programming, and because students in English schools have some of the best success rates in the province. In order to qualify for English instruction in Quebec public schools, students must meet certain eligibility criteria under the Charter of the French language as set out by the Quebec government. If you have any questions regarding your child's accessibility to English education or would like to register your child, we've listed resources for your convenience in the description.
We would like to thank our sponsor for this podcast, the Secrétariat aux relations avec les Québécois d'expression anglaise.